Hey everybody! Welcome to MovieDive. We're diving into some shit. Been a long time. But today we're reviewing
Wonder Woman!
So what'd you think about Wonder Woman?
Man.
Man?
Woman. Let me tell you, girl. This movie was so good. I was kind of surprised, and the more I think about it, the more I like it. The more it hits me with how good the action was, how good the characterization was, how good they set up this character of Wonder Woman, where they easily could have just gone, oh, she fights people, like, whatever. Sure. They build her up. They set her up. And also, great movie for young girls to see. And women.
Inspiring stuff.
Inspiring. And all people. All people.
Yo, no, when we were in the theater, one thing that I noticed is people, gave a shit about the action. People
were responding to the movie.
You never see people, get vocal about, action parts. People always laugh at the jokes when you go to theaters. But, in this one, you heard, the, whoa, and damn. And
people were responding to the action. They were actually talking to the screen. Now, of course, you go into a black theater, you're gonna have that all the time. You take it for a given, except for you don't hear it as often as we did in this movie. People really cared what was happening in this movie pretty much every step of the way.
Yeah. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. When we saw Guardians of the Galaxy, it was 2 hours?
It was about 2 hours, too.
This movie didn't drag. I did not feel like I was bored at any point. Guardians of the Galaxy, I checked out, halfway through, I gotta say.
Yeah.
So, in terms of, comparison, I think, if you didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy, you're probably gonna like it. If you did like Guardians of the Galaxy, you're probably gonna like this more. So... yeah, I feel as far as superhero movies go, this one, set the bar pretty high.
It does.
Considering, recently, we've seen, just a fucking flood of these superhero movies. And that's not gonna stop. But this one is, definitely one of the more, just refreshing...
It's a movie.
Interesting ones. Yeah,
it works by itself just as a film. Now, of course... they started off, they do these bookends of her in present day, whenever that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So the whole movie is kind of set up as kind of a flashback, which is a kind of weird thing to do.
That is, yeah.
Didn't really work for me. They could have easily just locked those off.
They should have not done it.
And it would have been fine, because we know she's coming back. We saw her in Batman v Superman. We know she's coming back for the Justice League movie. We don't need these bookends to go, oh yeah, just so you know, she's still alive. She's still running around doing stuff. Yeah. But, that's a given. But as soon as they go into, I keep wanting to say the mascara.
The mascara. The mascara is what the place was. What is it? I don't even know how it's written.
It's Themy.
It sounds like the mascara every time that they say it.
CRA. Yeah. But it sounds like the mascara, the stuff you put on your eyes.
That place was dope. I don't want to.
It was amazing. I was sad when they left.
To BHQ or whatever.
Huh?
I don't give a shit.
What?
Yeah, great stuff in there. They had some women bodybuilders and athletes.
Yes, they had actual physical, muscle bound women that looked strong, that looked like they were actual warrior women sitting up here playing Amazons, doing the training sequences. And they weren't just montages. You could see little Diana interacting with this world. You could see where she comes from. It's very important. It builds up, it grounds this entire character. Yeah. It forms her as a character, not just some superhero that we happen to be watching. I liked Robin Wright. Robin Wright was friggin' amazing. Hey,
she was really... Oh, wait. No, they did say that she is reprising her role in the next one.
Really?
So I don't know how it's going to work. I think we prefaced this movie pretty well to go into spoilers, right? Like, we already said it was awesome.
Yeah.
So, then we'll start from here. This is the after spoilers. Okay. Right? Robin Wright dies very early in the movie. Alright? Even though she's arguably, like, one of the, like, better parts of it.
She really is.
She's a really strong actress, you know? Like, you see her... I mean, she's not very prominent, I guess. She's only risen to, like... out of obscurity because of her House of Cards role.
I don't know if she was in obscurity. She was married to Sean Penn. She was a fairly amazing actress throughout the 90s.
It's not that she's... Well, that's what I'm saying.
I know. She just hasn't been getting the roles that would have brought her to, you know, a Meryl Streep level of
even though
fame.
Arguably, I think she's definitely there. Like, she has range and she's like just awesome.
She takes this character that easily could have been, you know, she could have been some brooding person just sitting around hanging out, just saying the crap lines that they give her. She takes that and she makes it this emotional focal point for Diana. And when you see her go, I mean, that's one of the most amazing death scenes I've ever seen. Yeah. She just goes limp. Like, she just, awesome. she dies like a pro. Like, people need to take acting lessons from Robin Wright on how to die
actually
in someone's arms.
The bridges perfectly into like the way that they kind of ham it up for the death scene. I don't know, like,
ham it up.
I'm kind of over that people dying in your arms with the last monologue type thing. I don't know.
I've seen, like you said, too many movies at this point. So there were things I could see coming. I saw coming from the first 10 minutes, the first 20 minutes in. Yeah. I knew the ending. I knew the ending before the second act began. Like, I knew who Ares was. I'm dead serious. I knew from the second time we saw that dude who Ares was going to be. It wasn't a surprise for me. Yeah. But
if you've seen movies, it's not going to be. But I think it speaks to it though that even though we weren't surprised, we were still like engaged.
Yeah, I was still engaged, interested, and honestly, even kind of satisfied with where they took it because the way that they bring Diana through this story, she's not just doing, like, they'll do these points in the movies where they'll do basically glorified training montages where you see the main character learn to harness their powers and go through the world and learn what they're capable of doing. You kind of have that with her, but the scenes that you see her actually fighting, they're more scenes about developing her character. Like, they have that big scene when she's going through the no man's land and the battle sequences between the German forces and the was it English? What forces? The Allied or whatever they were calling them back in World War I.
Yeah.
You see her going across that field, and it's not just, oh man, she can deflect bullets with her bracelets and and mortar attacks too with the shield. Like, she can just shrug those off like it's nothing. It's not just that. It's about she's the one who's willing to stand up, who's willing to go out, and it also makes her singular in that fashion as the superhero, but also builds it up as she's a person who is going to fight for these humans. She's going to go and she's going to go out there and try to get food for this village, even though it's not important for the larger mission. Not just
fight for them, fight with them.
Fight with them too.
A woman of the people, if you will. Like, like that kind of, instead of, having, Superman or Iron Man fly off into some shit to fight the bad guys, she's on the ground, and that's some dope shit.
Actually doing tactical stuff with the people that she's with. She works with the group that she's in. It's not just her going off and doing stuff. Like, I like to, they set up a lot of things, a lot of skills that she would have to use, where they do that. Chris Pine, does that. He gets everybody to get that metal thing so she can jump off of it.
No, well, okay, so what's awesome about this movie is, like, the action in it is actually pretty great. Oh. And not only is it pretty great, but it's also, like Sarah said, it was functional in that it kind of introduces and builds elements, like, from previous scenes or, like, sets them up for next scenes. So, in the very first, like, action sequence, I think, they're training her, right? Mm-hmm. It's a training sequence. They show off how she's able to, like, handle multiple targets effectively. Mm-hmm. You know, like, a bunch of, like, hail of arrows coming from one direction, a sword from another direction. It shows she can figure it out, and it shows that she has some kind of, like, deep hidden within power. Which is, like...
when she knocks Robin Wright's character on her ass, you're just like... Everybody in the scene was going, oh... No, shit.
everyone in the theater was like, shit. Like, people were like, we were like, whoa, that's crazy. The audience was like, pretty dope. Anyways, the next action scene that they have is, a bunch of Germans land on, like, the Mascara's beaches or whatever. So they have to fend them off. So that scene introduces, the Amazon combat tactics. And how unorthodox and crazy, like,
amazing.
Athletic they are. Yeah.
Just absolutely gorgeous, strong-looking people just going out there and fighting. It was amazing.
And it sets up that they're not immortal because it teaches Diana, Wonder Woman, about how bullets work.
Yes.
And it teaches us that the women are mortal. So she can die if she doesn't unfuck those bullets with her shields or, whatever.
Unfuck those bullets.
You gotta unfuck these bullets. They're just gonna fuck me. Yeah, and it just kind of, it keeps building on that. So, like, the next fight, in town or whatever, like, she teaches Chris Pine's character, who she hooks up with, she teaches him that she's not, just some asshole.
Average,
she can handle herself and doesn't need him at all. Like, she doesn't need anyone around her other than to, like, I don't know, work her way through society, basically.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps going throughout the movie, and everything just kind of develops very naturally. And I think, like, that really contributes to, like, how good this movie was. Yeah.
Because nothing just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You see her, and that's a good thing too, is that sequence where they're doing the combat and the fighting the Germans. Mm-hmm. They set up the use of the slow motion way of shooting the scenes, and usually you're kind of like, Matrix did it, I'm over it. It's been almost 20 years. Has it been 20 years? It's been a while. It's been almost 20 years since we've seen this done. Most people, when they use it, they don't use it effectively. But in this movie, they show you the slow motion so that you can see her watching the bullet go by. She's never seen a bullet in her life. She doesn't know what these are. And she can see it, and she can see the devastating effect, how fast it moves, how easy it can be used. And you just watch the impact in her eyes of seeing this thing for the first time.
She can, like, follow the bullets.
And she can follow it, too.
Yeah, it's pretty... it tells you exactly what she's capable of.
Yeah, what she's capable of. And when you see them going in slow motion, I don't know what it is, but the action reads so much clearer. Not just like, oh, this looks awesome, but look how beautiful this looks. Look how tragic this is. Look how fast they're moving. You can see that they use it for different things. And it's very appropriately used every single time that it comes up. It was very effective.
I know you're saying that you don't know what it is, but I actually thought about it, and I think I know what it is.
Okay, what is it?
Okay, so the way that these superhero movies are shot normally, right? Especially the battle scenes, is that they're like a mishmash of some stunt work, some battle work that is usually like super like fast edited because these most of the time it's they try to keep those they try to keep the actors in there, but the actors clearly can't do it. So they have like so many edits and cuts and stuff. And then sometimes like they'll go into like CG anyway for like the big building explosion stuff, right? All of these movies use super heavy make super heavy use of CG. Right? What makes Wonder Woman and Zack Snyder's version of fights better is that they actually use these like the CG elements like not to cover for actors, but to enhance like the feeling of the action. Mm-hmm. All right? And the reason that they do it, or the way that they do it, is that like they realize that CG animation is just animation. And so I think that they're using like actual like Disney's like classic animation principles to like make it work. So like they use like the classic stuff like slow in, slow out, right? Like, and that's what they use. Like slow in, slow out means like when you have an action, right? Like if I'm doing a punch, right? Like a human punch looks like this, right? It's not actually very dynamic to look at. Like if you watch MMA, like you see people beating their face or whatever, but you don't understand it because it's so fast. Yeah. the way you animate action is you have slow in, build up, fast, and then slow out. So instead of doing this punch, you do, you know, like that's kind of how you're trying to like. So they use like that kind of slow motion stuff because you know, you can't make like real human bodies like move like an animated person. So they use editing. They use editing and like the cinematography and the slow-mo to give you like that kind of like animation feeling and make you like make those superhero punches like feel real.
You can feel the weight of their actions. It's not just the punches either. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like when she's sliding across the floor, that scene that keeps showing in the trailer when she's sliding across the floor. The way that they shoot it, the perspective of it, and the fact that they slow it down, you actually feel the weight of her swinging that sword and sliding that way. Like, you can actually see what she's doing.
Yeah. No, I mean, and like if you look at the fight scenes from animation, like you look at, I don't know, I mean, I know I'm a nerd or whatever, but you look at like Naruto, right? Or you look at Dragon Ball Z or One Punch Man, or like what makes those fights work and like makes people like want to watch those fight scenes. And they use those elements and those principles, like, in these movies. And that's why, like, DC fight scenes, in my opinion, like, hold up a lot better than, like, other superhero fight scenes, or other fight scenes in most movies in general, except for, you know, like, the martial arts ones where they actually do the moves. Like, so if you can't do the moves, and you can't film the actors doing the moves, then, in my opinion, like, the way that they do the action in these DC movies is the way to do superhero action. Like, I've heard like people don't like the slow-mo, but like I think
really, they're saying that?
Like I've heard like people say that they don't like the slow-mo.
Honestly, I think it's probably because it's being overused.
I hope that this convinces people that this like it works better.
This is the way you do it.
It really does. Like this way, even though like they're all cartoons and they're all CG, we get to see the action. And the way that we see the action is that when, you know, Iron Man or Spider-Man or whatever, when those actors turn into those CG cartoons, they don't look all rubbery and weightless. You know what I mean? Like, they use that to ground these CG models to make them look like they're heavy and awesome.
Yeah.
It works. It works fucking awesome. I fully endorse this decision.
Now,
yeah, that was my thesis.
This movie isn't perfect by any means.
No.
It doesn't quite reach the heights that, say, Logan did. Logan is the thing that, I mean, if a superhero movie is going to aspire to anything, Logan's where it's at. Logan is top tier, gold star, damn near Oscar worthy movie.
Logan does something different. I mean, Logan tries like actively to transcend like
it does. But this movie, Wonder Woman, is a good film. If it just had, you know, if she was just a character that we were just being introduced to, and we had no idea that she was going to be in like 17 other movies and that she was in comics or anything, it's a movie that just stands alone by itself. It's a good film. It works. And the things that make it great, the parts that aren't drowned out by whatever the studio was trying to do, are the mascara with, you know, with all the Amazons, and Chris Pine with the way that he was playing that character, because he was playing it with heart, just all great, heart. And really making them feel like real people. And the group of people that she met up with, you know, when he got his raggedy band of outlaws, I guess, together, they were all kind of real people. You could feel like she was really getting a good experience of what humanity is like, and this is what she's going to be fighting for. She's going to be fighting for, you know, the Scotch,
or fighting against and fighting with, really. Yeah.
She's going to be fighting for the Scotchman who, you know, he's scarred by what he's done. He's scarred by his experience with war. She's going to be fighting for the one guy who can speak all these different languages and still is being held back by, you know, the world. She's going to be fighting for the guy who's coming over from America to make money off of all these people and make money with all these people who probably he was fighting against, or generations his family was fighting against before. This is the complexity of humanity that she is being introduced to. It's not just black and white, as she was being raised to believe, kind of, that all humanity is, they're all just bad, or they're bad because of somebody else.
I think that just the general, like, humanist message, like, in this movie, right? Would, like, message. What was it? Message. The message in this movie, about, like, the imperfection and the, futility and the folly of humanity, right? And, like that's kind of, like, what we're kind of set to look at. And, like, they're trying to grapple with the idea, I think, of, like, I think it's a classic, like, are people worth fighting for and defending? Mm-hmm. And, like, that's, I think, like, the major, like, emotional conflict for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, they literally say it at one point.
Yeah.
What they say? It's not...
Yeah, it's not what they deserve.
It's what you believe.
It's what you believe, right. Yeah, like, so, like, if you believe that people can be better, then you will work for people to be better. Like, you can't, like, judge them or, for the shit that they do or the circumstances that they're in. Which I think is a great message.
Yeah.
But we did have problems with the way that they fucked up that message in the ending.
So they can't leave things to be vague. And being a superhero movie, they have to have their big action scene at the end. So, whereas you could have believed that... I really don't want to spoil anything, but...
Well, we're already talking about it.
True. So. You could have believed that the first guy that she kills, who she believes is Ares. When Wonder Woman kills Ludenhoff for whatever his name is, Stefan, the German monster man who literally does super cocaine and gets stronger.
Evil guy, bad guy, yeah. Well, which I kind of had a problem with, that they were characterizing the Germans as the bad guys of the movie.
So they weren't really characterizing. I know that Germans are an easy go-to. What is it, like Nazi by another name?
Yeah.
But the thing that I love about this movie is that they don't set it in World War II, which they easily could have done.
No, I think that was
could have gone with Nazis. They set it in World War I, which I think is a more complex conflict, because the way that we think about World War II now is so loaded, and rightfully it should be, because it was a war that had morals on its side, that had clear objectives. You either were going to be taken over by Hitler and have millions of people be murdered and have that be okay, or you were going to fight against him. Done. No. That's it. It was really just life or death situation.
Be on the right side
on the right
history
side of that issue.
Whatever, yeah.
World War I is a completely different conflict. World War I is kind of ridiculous, because what happened is that all of these countries got drawn into this war because of treaties, because of paper, and because of one person being assassinated. And of course there are other issues that built up to it. But the reason why the whole world was fighting is because we built up these alliances and we built up all these weapons, and the conflict was so bloody because of these new weapons that we developed. And it's a morally ambiguous conflict, which is why it was perfect for Wonder Woman to walk into this situation. Yeah. It's not, I'm going to fight with the Allies and I'm going to fight against the Nazis. It's that I'm just going to fight for humans to live. It doesn't matter what side they're on, because actually I think at the end, when she defeats Ares, the people who are on the Allied side, or whatever the Allied side was called, they end up hugging, or they end up going, good on you, German guy, for us not dying. Like, isn't it great to be alive?
Yeah. And I like actually that part in the end where, like, the Germans take off their helmets and it's like,
they're boys.
16-year-old kids.
They're kids.
And like that's kind of how it was. It was a bunch of kids who were marched into wars by a bunch of aristocrats, basically, because of the in-house fighting of these heads of states. Yeah. And it was a brutal, tragic ass war. And Chris Pine's character, Steve McQueen or whatever his name was.
Steve McQueen.
I can't remember character names, man. Like, there's just so many of them. Well, Chris Pine tells her, after she kills their leader, and they just kept going. And he's like, well, maybe it's not some grand evil. Yeah. Maybe it's just, like, people doing shit. Like, and you gotta make the choice of whether you're gonna help them not do it, or if you're just gonna condemn them to suicide. And, like, that's the main issue. And I wish that the movie left it there and left us on that ending. But then we find out that, Ares was behind the British forces, and he was really involved in all of this and giving people ideas for chemical weapons. So they try to make the message that, like, Ares was like, didn't even tell him to do nothing. I just gave him the recipes.
Yeah, I just gave him the recipes, and they cooked the meal themselves. Whatever.
Yeah, like I feel like it was kind of like it was a concession to the general movie audience to give them that like closeout final battle and that final bad guy.
And it was.
And
because
I feel
that's
like
what the studio requires.
Would fewer people have seen it if they have left that out? If we just were left with, well, shit, like, do we help these people? Like, what's up? And, give us that kind of sense of ambiguous closure. Like, maybe we don't know. Maybe we have to think about it and figure it out for ourselves.
And that would have elevated to the level of Logan. That if they had left it a little bit more ambiguous, it would have been, right now Logan's up here and this movie's kind of down here, and it would have gotten up a little bit more. But I'm going to tell you what, they did decide to at least let Ares just go, I didn't make them do any of this.
Yeah.
I just gave them the tools and they just ran wild with it. And that still kind of puts it on the humans. It's not as ambiguous and gray as what Chris Pine was saying, as it would have been if she had just killed Ludenhofer Schmidt and left it like that.
Yeah.
But it's still a decent point, and the point still gets through, which props to this movie, because some other movies would have just managed to completely kill the point. This movie only kind of maims it. Not too bad.
How can a woman possibly fight in this?
Fight? We use our principles. Although I am not opposed to engaging in a bit of fisticuffs should the occasion arise.
Good shit, guys. High recommend. Take your friends. Like and subscribe to our video.
Oh yeah, do that.
Because we're probably as good as Wonder Woman. Are we? Are we as good as Wonder Woman in the box office? No, we're not.
We're pretty decent.
But make us, it's not what we deserve, it's what you believe.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, follow Twitter, Facebook, all that. Peace.
Bye.